I have a Cinebloom filter permanently glued to the front of my camera. It's rare that I'm out shooting, even during the day, without the 5% Cinebloom or the 10% Cinebloom attached to the front of my lens. Until now though, every time I wanted to shoot some video while I was out taking photos, I had to stack an additional ND filter onto the front of my lens. But not anymore. This is the new Cinebloom VND. This filter combines the Cinebloom diffusion with a variable ND filter. So no more stacking lenses, you have a fully controllable VND with diffusion all in one lens. The usual case for shooting with a variable ND filter is for when you're shooting video, and you want to be able to keep your settings locked at your preferred aperture and the right shutter speed depending on your frame rate. Then using a variable ND, we can then control the amount of light coming into our sensor without changing any of these settings. So that's one way to use Cinebloom VNDs for video. But what about shooting street photography with one of these filters? You may have tried shooting with a traditional VND for creating like long exposure shots with light trails or waterfalls, whatever you want. But have you ever tried shooting with a VND with diffusion to create interesting slow shutter street photography? Well, that's what I've been doing here in Porto with my Sony a7C II and my Sony 20-70 f4 with the 10% Cinebloom VND attached to the front of my lens. With this filter on the front of my lens, I wanted to create these like shutter drag effects, matching the speed and motion of my subjects, shooting at slower shutter speeds, panning with the subject to create these interesting light trails while having my subjects remain relatively sharp. Using this filter, I could experiment with different shutter speeds, from 1/60th of a second all the way down to 1/4 of a second. It's possible to create these effects without using a VND. You could just shoot in shutter priority mode and let your aperture go as high as you want to be able to create these sort of balanced exposure effects. But only with a VND with diffusion can we control that aperture to create a little bit more separation between our subject and the background, and also add this atmospheric glow to our overall image. You can see these images here creating this similar slow shutter drag effect without using the Cinebloom VND. And the difference is kind of obvious. Like, you can see that we just have this much more like blooming highlights to create this different glow on the Cinebloom VND shots. And if you're interested in seeing more videos like this, showing you how to use moment gear for street photography, be sure to subscribe to the channel. There's more where this came from. Whether you always shoot on a zoom lens or you like to chop and change different prime focal lengths, you can find a Cinebloom VND filter in the right diffusion level for your style, for your specific filter thread size. So we're going to drop a link in the description below for you to go check out these filters. For me, as someone who likes to shoot a mixture of photography and videography, when I'm out traveling and I don't want to be thinking about taking out specific gear with me to be able to change the way I'm shooting, having one of these filters permanently on the front of my lens means I can always have this nice diffused look in different environments, and I can control my exposure with the VND rather than always having to compromise one of my main exposure settings. So if you're a hybrid shooter like me and you're always switching between photo and video mode, you're going to want to pick up one of these filters as soon as possible. And if you're interested in getting into film photography for the first time, go check out Davey's new video right here, all about how not to mess up your first roll of film.